Good afternoon. This is Lunchtime News. Well, we have so much in store for you from the country and across borders. My name is Jackie Wambiru. Sign language interpreter is Anne Wangeshi. Remember, you can interact with us on our social media handles at KBC Channel 1. Now, to kick us off, leaders in Marsabit County have stepped up efforts to bring lasting peace between conflicting communities in the region. A meeting convened in Saku resolved to push for a ceasefire, with elders from the affected communities being urged to preach peace. Peace efforts are underway in Saku area of Marsabit County, with former Speaker of the National Assembly Francis Olekaparu leading ceasefire talks with elders from the area's conflicting parties in attendance. This came after 9 people lost their lives and several houses were burnt in arson attacks in clashes between the Borana and Gabra communities.
The meeting, which brought together elders from the Borana, Gabra, Rendile and Burji communities and area administrative officers, was used to entrench harmony after weeks of fighting.
Tusije tukafanya mambo kama haya. So tumeona na nilishtuka kuona, na inanipa pia moyo zaidi ya kufanya bidii kuregesha hawa watu pamoja na waimiliki amani.
The team, led by Francis Olekaparu, visited villages affected by the clashes and urged peaceful coexistence of people. The former speaker said locals must not give in to political incitement.
Kwa sababu hawa watu tayari wameathirika, na siwezi kusema waliathirika kwa sababu ya siasa, kwa sababu sina ushahidi huo, lakini kama vile unavyosema, pengine inaweza kuchangia zaidi kuregesha pale.
Elders drawn from the warring communities pledged to back the ongoing peace efforts and urged those who have fled their homes to return.
Kuwe na ceasefire, watu warudi kwao, mambo hii ya kuibaiba mali ya wengine isimame.
Jamii tunawahimiza umuhimu ya amani ambao nyinyi mtakuja kuishi vile mlikuwa hapo mbeleni.
The recent spate of violence has left 9 people dead and houses torched. Reporting for Lunchtime News, my name is Yusuf. Hello.
And on matters education stakeholders have cautioned students from the informal settlements in Athi River, Machakos County against drug abuse and teenage pregnancy in efforts to ensure they pursue further learning. The group says focusing on education will reduce incidences of drug abuse as well as address teenage pregnancies in schools. Secondary school education stakeholders converged at the facility to equip the school's library with learning materials. It is here that the group called on students to focus on education so as to easily transition from secondary school to tertiary learning institutions.
Engage in some of these activities, we will end up not finishing your secondary education. And as a community, we want the best for these learners. We want them to finish education. We want them to be the drug-free community and avoid early marriages.
The group raised concern over the rising cases of school dropout in the area, owing largely to early pregnancies and drug abuse.
Mimba za mapema zinakatiza masomo kwa ghafla, na tutaki wanafunzi yote kutoka ile eneo kukatizwa masomo yake kwa ghafla. Na mambo ya miadarati pia inaweza, tumeona kwa wengine pia wanaachisha shule mapema ukianza kufuata mambo ya miadarati. Kwa hivyo kila mwanafunzi lazima awe na nidhamu. Mambo ya mimba ya mapema, mambo ya miadarati, hiyo ni la.
Athi River Secondary School Deputy Principal Rockefeller Muimi attributed the vices to the town's proximity to the Mombasa Highway and mushrooming towns associated with vices.
Vitabu ni muhimu kwa watoto wetu. Wengi hawatoki background mzuri. Kwa hivyo vitabu vitawaeka busy wakisoma, especially weekend.
The stakeholders, however, called for an all-inclusive approach to safeguard the youth from substance abuse and teenage pregnancies. Now, the United Green Movement has called on the government to create social safety nets for unemployed graduates. UGM is proposing that jobless graduates be paid a monthly stipend of 20,000 shillings as they seek employment opportunities.
United Green Movement Party argues that it has the answers to solve runaway youth unemployment in the country.
On behalf of the Fourth Liberation Movement, that is in line with the Constitution of Kenya, to provide for social safety nets in terms of paid internship to graduates of 20,000 Kenya shillings per month, and that those safety nets also include cash for work schemes for other unemployed out-of-school youth.
The youth who convened a meeting in Mombasa say many young Kenyans are languishing in poverty despite their attractive academic qualifications.
And what we are saying is that every representative in parliament that treats this petition as a by the way, they need to be prepared that in 2022 we will also treat them as a by the way. So you will see more of this going forward because we are tired. Basically, we are tired.
They want the government to maximize on existing policies and lift the youth from poverty.
I think it would be important to draw the lines. We have aspirants who will be vying for different political positions, and ours is to fully support them. But then we also have individuals whose their sole interest is to make sure that the agenda of the Fourth Liberation moves forward.
The group said Kenya has sound policies meant to take care of the interest of the youth, and all that is needed is commitment from those in authority to make them effective.
In other news, the county government of Kilifi has set aside 73 million shillings for the construction of a seawall at NGOMENI village in Magarini constituency of Kilifi County. The wall is intended to shield houses from high ocean tides.
After years of perennial flooding and destruction of property and crops, help is coming for residents of NGOMENI. A wall will soon be constructed to shield the area from rising waters of the Indian Ocean.
Ili kuhakikisha kwamba yale manyumba ambayo yameegemea bahari kule hayatatiziki kwa ile miaka ambayo tunakuja.
Magarini Member of Parliament Michael Kingi says the wall will come as a huge relief for the locals.
Hatujaanza, lakini ile hatua ambayo tuko ninashukuru. Lakini kama hatutatengeneza seawall, hii maendeleo ambayo tutaongea hapa, baada ya miaka fulani hii maji itakuja mpaka ipite hapa barabarani.
The construction of the wall is set to begin October 2021. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
Well, that brings us to a fast break here on Lunchtime News. Well, don't go too far. We'll be right back.
Ukiangalia katika majeshi yetu tunaona namna gani? Tunaona kwamba vyeo ambavyo vilikuwa vinadhaniwa ni vya wabeberu peke yao sasa vimenyakuliwa ni wananchi wetu, ndio wanavikalia. Ukiwaona na manyota huko juu utatetemeka. Wapi Mulinge wapi? Haya, mtaona mambo. Hebu simama hapa wakuone, uwapigie suruti moja. Simama sawa hapa, angalia wananchi wakuone. Muangalieni, huyo ndiye kubwa kabisa. Angalia manyota tele juu na huko makofia mekuna huko angalieni. Hii ilikuwa inasemekana ati ni kitu ya wabeberu. Mkubwa yake Bwana Ndolo naye akisimama hapa sasa mtatetemeka kuona vile mambo yalivyo. Hebu wapigie suruti moja ya wananchi. Thank you very much. Thank you. Asante sana.
Kupata skiza tune ya Karau na DJ, bonyeza *811 967 hash.
Raya, hii ni kwa matiche wote. Please, do not confuse the government. Usianza kufinya ile kitu inasema more fire. Ama ile ya the roof is on fire. Ama unaanza kusema we are killing this party. Ama the party is just a bomb. We are having a blast. No. Wewe cheza musiki and just be Fitland. Enjoy. Ama namna kani. Sawa. Over and out.
Bonyeza star 811 star 967 hash. Star 811 star 967 hash.
My lady, His Highness and Princess bought something like candles at the market, and they went to the temple.
Temple? What would they be doing there?
Maybe they are praying for you, my lady.
I know you feel guilty for all that she's done for you, so I will try to make an antidote for her.
Why did Xicho suddenly send a convoy? Did anything happen?
I guess we will find out.
Majesty, I have investigated Prince Chin's identity.
And?
Go find out the identity of those three in black. Also, what they're planning to do here in Tianling.
Yes.
Naongea hapa kwa Nduthi, wenzako wanakimbia huko marathon, wanaleta mangolo ndi diamond. Wako hapa kwa Nduthi tukiochomeka na njoko na sisi. Tarumbeta. Ndaka sanga. Mami, nikase tu hapo. Hata mnafanya tusikie semo liu. Oh my God.
Mwambie wewe, niko kwa Veneza.
Kamungoje bwana wako hapo hivi.
Nini? Wao una bahati sana. Mimi nakwambia siku hiyo ni vile tu ulini surprise. Siku hiyo ni wewe ama waniwachilie tu hapa kidogo, naweza kuchapa vibaya sana. Ni huruma. Mtu ya bodaboda anawacha gari tatu. Sasa driving license.
Mzee, mtu wa bodaboda si binadamu.
No, like what am I asking?
Usidharau kazi ya mtu.
Welcome back. Still on matters of education, 90 needy students from Samburu County have benefited from close to 1 million shillings in bursary, courtesy of the National Government Bursary Kitty disbursed through the Office of the County Women Representative. According to Maison Leshomo, most parents are experiencing financial constraints owing to the effects of the COVID pandemic.
Drought and hunger in Samburu County are termed major contributors to absenteeism in school. Area Woman Representative Maison Leshomo says the amount set aside for bursary is not enough to cater for all needy cases.
Akati ya watoto kwenda shule. Samburu County tuko na shida kubwa sana. Shida ya ukame, ya ng'ombe hakuna nyasi, hakuna maji, watu hawana chakula.
The 90 students who benefited from the 900,000 shillings bursary expressed gratitude.
We want to thank you, our women rep, for supporting us with our school fees. We don't have words to say thank you to you. It's best that you have an altitude of gratitude. Thank you so very much.
Leshomo said women and youth groups across the county have also been issued with checks worth 3 million shillings to boost their business enterprises that were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Tunajua vizuri pesa ngapi ni kidogo sana katika hii kaunti yangu. Lakini hiyo ikiwa pia ni kidogo, ina appreciate, inasaidia wale wajuezi. Kwa sababu kwa magrupu pia, naona hivi vijana wako nyuma yangu pia, ni wale wameathirika sana kwa mambo ya corona. Wanafanyanga biashara ya mbuzi, biashara ya ng'ombe, wote wamekuja kukaa nyumbani bila kazi.
Magdalene Lewaran, a resident of Yare in Samburu Central Sub-County and a member of Ntomosala, a self-help group who benefited from the fund, expressed optimism for future growth.
Sana mama kwa vile ameweza kutopea pesa, na hizo pesa yenye alitopea tutaenda kuitumia vizuri na kuifanyia biashara.
Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Lunchtime News.
Now, exactly a year from today, Kenyans will go to the polls to elect its leaders, from the president to county representatives. Though there have been varied opinions on the August date, the Constitution as it stands is explicit that a general election must be held on the second Tuesday of August every 5 years, which will this time round fall on the 10th of August 2022. But is the date cast in stone? John Jacob Courier dissects the situation.
The Constitution of Kenya, in both Articles 101 and 136 respectively, states that the election of members of Parliament, County Governor, MCAs and the President will be held on the second Tuesday in August every 5th year. Furthermore, Article 102 of a Constitution says the term of Parliament expires on the date of the next general election, but its time can be extended for a term of not more than 6 months at a time, but should not be extended for a total of more than 12 months. Does this then mean that the date of a general election is cast in stone?
If Parliament moves with a 2/3 majority, if the courts are convinced the reasons as to why the election can be pushed ahead, then that can be accommodated. But I don't think with the polarized type of politics that we have between the Tanga wing and the Kileke wing and the ODM wing, that is likely to succeed.
This country is governed by the rule of law, and there are certain provisions that provide for the extension of that date, but I don't think you can arbitrarily just wake up and say that we will extend it. But who knows? Those who sit in these offices and those who are mandated with decision making will make that decision at the appropriate time.
The election date of this country is in the Constitution. Starting from the time of the inauguration of the Constitution, 2 terms for the presidency, and comes back to 9th August 2022. That date is set in the Constitution in terms of numbers. You can change a 9 to be 10. It's 9th August of 2022.
With the COVID-19 situation and especially the Delta variant ravaging the country, proponents of a postponement of the election argue that the country is battling a dangerous and unpredictable pandemic that would warrant a postponement. In fact, the African Court on Human and People's Rights mid-last month appeared to give an okay to the postponement of an election owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, but giving a rider that political actors, health authorities and representatives of civil society be consulted to ensure an inclusive approach to the process, with consultation focusing on the measures necessary to ensure that elections are conducted in a transparent, free and fair manner.
There is no legal basis for postponing on that ground unless we domesticate that judgment into our laws, or maybe a party goes to our courts and seeks domestication of that judgment.
When we were still under the pandemic, we've had several by-elections. I don't have to mention them: Kiamba, Mogoga. Even yesterday we had a member of parliament who was sworn in after being elected during the pandemic. The constitution of this country is not political.
5 general elections worldwide have been conducted under COVID regulation. There was no vaccination when the American election was being conducted. Yet, Trump did the elections and he lost. Biden took over. Elections have been conducted all over, in Tanzania and in other countries. So I don't see any justification for a delay of election.
In an attempt to throw a spanner into the works, former nominated Senator Njoroge Ben Paul now wants the IEBC to declare the second Tuesday of August 2023 as the date of the next general election. Njoroge claims President Uhuru Kenyatta, having been sworn into office in November 2017, his 5-year term expires in November of 2022, and the only other available August, as stipulated in the Constitution, is in 2023.
If we wanted to follow those numbers, why didn't we say that the Constitution has been inaugurated on 24th August 2010, so the 2 terms begins on 24th 10 2010, Kibaki would have begun his first term on that day and continued for 2 terms.
The bodies that are in place, the judiciary, the executive and the parliament, they are empowered to come up with strategies and policies on how to ensure that things run smoothly as provided in the Constitution.
The president, the governors hold office until new leaders are elected, so their terms will be substantially secured. Therefore, Mr. Njoroge's argument, in my view, does not merit.
The judiciary might not agree with this senator who has gone to court, but he has valid reasons if we go according to the calendar days since the president was sworn in. But that is a legal lacuna that is likely to cause another big problem, more problematic than the BBI.
All right. But preparation of the election seems to have set sail, with IEBC presenting a roadmap to drive the process to its material day. Told of any lacuna, President Uhuru Kenyatta has nominated 4 individuals to fill the vacant commissioner positions in the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, making the commission duly constituted.
There are different schools of thoughts, but all these have to be done within the 4 corners of the existing constitution.
The next general election is 1 year away. The ideas of postponing the election will most likely end up in courts of competent jurisdiction and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. For Kenyans, it's a matter of wait and see, hopeful that the election will happen on the 2nd Tuesday of August, the year 2022.
In other news, parliamentarians have condemned the use of excessive force by police on Kenyans, especially during demonstrations, responding to a statement by the chair of the Administration and National Security Committee, Peter Mwathi, on the killing of 2 young men who had been arrested by police in Embu. The legislators termed the incident as shameful and called for prosecution of the police involved. Nominated Member of Parliament David Sankok, however, called for responsibility on the part of demonstrators, saying they must handle themselves with decorum and avoid infringing on other people's rights.
It is shameful for the police to use brutality and even kill people who are demonstrating following the death of the 2 young men who were killed by the police. Honorable Speaker, extrajudicial killings in this country must come to an end, and any police officer who was responsible must be taken to court, tried and be chained according to the laws of the land. So I think the police should not consider themselves as being above the law.
And it's high time that the Inspector General of Police realize that this country is governed by law. Again, in demonstration, the demonstrators should also know that their rights stop where other people's rights start. You cannot purport to be demonstrating, destroying properties, and blocking roads, blocking ambulances that are taking people to hospital, and you also want to be treated with dignity while you are infringing into other people's rights.
A non-governmental organization has embarked on an initiative aimed at offering free surgeries to intersex persons within Embu County. According to Mary Macau, the organizing secretary of Makima Women Rights Organization, the surgeries will be performed by doctors from various hospitals, even as they create awareness to eliminate stigma against intersex persons.
Carol Muia, not her real name, is a mother of an intersex child. It has not been easy for her, as she has turned into a laughingstock because of her child, who has also had to undergo a lot of stigma, especially when playing with other children.
Kwa mboma, wazazi walikuwa wananielewa vibaya. Sijui kama walikuwa wanaelewa na mtoto wangu, kwa sababu sikuwa na shughulika ati huyu ni kijana ama ni msichana, kwa sababu tabia zake zilikuwa za msichana. Saa ingine anakaa kama kijana, wewe au kwa unataka kuelewa ati hivi. Wakaona huyu mama ni kama elewi kenye amezaa. Lakini wengi walikuwa wanajua huyu mtoto sio ati ako hivyo, wengine walikuwa wanaelewa ni intersex. Lakini mimi si kujua.
According to Aaron Mutunga, a children's officer in Embu County, the last census showed that Embu County has more than 100 intersex people.
Kuna watu intersex wako na sehemu mbili za uzazi katika tuseme kama Embu County. The census ilikuwa imetoa watu wengi sana, lakini wale tunajua tu tulikuwa tumejua tu ni kupitia tu kwa hearsay. Lakini wakati tulianza kufanya mobilization na sensitization, kuna watu wamejitokeza, na already we have 5 in both Makima and Mwea wards, na pia kuna stigma ile ya kujitokeza. Lakini tunaendelea at least kuwaita na wajitokeze because they are human.
Stakeholders in the county are now out to advance awareness and eradicate the stigma against intersex persons. Makima Women Rights Organization, for instance, is working with various hospitals to offer free corrective surgeries to intersex persons within Embu County.
Then wanapofanywa assessment wanajulikana huyu ni mwanamke ama ni mwanamke kulingana zile shots zake ndizo zitaeleza yeye ile nini pengine viungo vya mwili venye ni inaweza kuliko vile vingine. So ndio kunitoka na ripoti ya daktari ndiye anajua atafunga ile ya mwanamke ama atafunga ile ya mwanamume.
The Secretary General is urging intersex persons to take advantage of the opportunity, even as she called on members of the public who may have such cases in their localities to present them to their offices within Makima in Mbeere South Sub-County for corrective action. For Lunchtime News, I'm Safin Aching Ouma.
Still on matters education, Gatundu South constituency is the third in Kiambu County to get a certified basic tertiary institution which will offer technical courses. This follows an approval by the Kiambu County Education Office of the construction of the Mohoho Technical Institute under the patronship of the area Member of Parliament, Moses Kuria. Kuria said the institute will also benefit neighboring villages of Gatito and Kiganjo. He further called upon youth in the area to join the technical institute and acquire knowledge that will enable them improve their lives.
This particular college is going to supplement the supply of teachers. So the initial funding is coming from the government. My colleagues supported that we do set up this particular college, and we do set up in Suba North, Tomboya Teachers College. So education is very key, and for us as members of parliament, our paramount job, our paramount role is on matters education.
World of business, extension of the runway at the ISIOLO International Airport is set to commence early next year. The construction of the runway, which is expected to cost 1.2 billion shillings, will be financed through exchequer funding. The Kenya Airports Authority has also said the airport will be fully reopened in January once renovation on the existing runway and a cargo apron is completed.
Operations at the ISIOLO International Airport was scaled down last year after the runway developed depressions, posing a threat to landing aircraft. The Kenya Airports Authority embarked on renovating and expanding the 1.4 kilometers runway. The authority says the renovation works will be completed later this year, allowing aircraft to land at the facility. KAA further says a cargo apron that is under construction will help boost cargo volumes at the airport. The cargo shed is expected to benefit ISIOLO, Meru, Samburu and Laikipia counties to evacuate cargo to other parts of the region. ISIOLO International Airport is part of Lamu Port, South Sudan, Ethiopia Transport Corridor. It has a handling capacity of 125,000 passengers a year, with each terminal designed to accommodate more residents and tourists. It sits on an 800-acre piece of land with parking facilities that can accommodate 200 vehicles. The renovation works involve putting up a cargo apron and extending the runway from 1.4 kilometers to 2.5 kilometers to accommodate larger aircraft. The airport is also expected to serve the Ethiopian and South Sudan economies. O'Brien Kimani for Business, Lunchtime News.
The government will upgrade the Ngama airstrip in Narok County to international standards. The move is expected to be a major boost to the tourism industry as it will ease transport of international tourists visiting the Masai Mara Game Reserve. The upgrading will be concluded in 3 phases, with the first phase set to cost 278 million shillings.
Masai Mara Game Reserve has received a major boost after the government launched the upgrading of the Ngama airstrip in Narok County to international standards. Upon its completion, foreign tourists will be able to directly connect to the world-famous game reserve.
This airport will boost accessibility to the Masai Mara Game Reserve and adjacent conservancies and cement Kenya as a home to the authentic safari.
The rehabilitation is expected to be carried out in 3 phases, with the first phase estimated to cost 278 million shillings. Transport Principal Secretary Solomon Kitungu said the first phase, that will take 12 months, will entail rehabilitating the existing runway and expansion of its width from 18 to 25 meters.
It will also include construction of a VIP lodge and associated mechanical and electrical works. Phase 3 will entail construction of a new runway of 3,300 meters length and 45 meters width.
Hiyo vijana yote ndio watajiriwa kwa hapa kutoka phase 1, phase 2 na phase 3. So vijana wanapata kazi na hiyo ni benefit moja, si ndio? Na pia materials yote, hakuna materials zinaenda leta Rongai ama wapi. Ile vijana wana supply vitu sijui nini yote, materials unapata hapa. Hizo ndio benefits. Locals wanapata hapa, ndio wana benefit pia kwa hiyo kazi.
Ujenzi ikianza, tunaomba tushirikiane ili hiyo kazi iweze kuendelea haraka iwezekanavyo. Kwa sababu ujenzi ukianza, uwanja utafungwa. Na uwanja ukifungwa, inamaanisha kwamba hakuna ndege itakuwa inalande hapa. Na yule anaweza kufanya, contractor atafanya kazi haraka iwezekanavyo akiwa anashirikiana na wananchi.
Nancy Okware, Lunchtime News.
Now, CIC Insurance Group has swung back to profitability, recording a pre-tax profit of 337 million shillings during the first 6 months, compared to a loss before tax of 287 million shillings for the same period last year that broke its 13-year profit-making run. Now, the group attributes the profits to adoption of mitigation strategies during the COVID-19 pandemic and growth in top-line investments.
profit in the review period came on the back of an improving business environment and opening up of the economy as countries at the firm operates in ramped up vaccination efforts boosting confidence. As such, a CIC Group gross written premium rose 16% to 10.8 billion shillings, driven by the growth in all businesses except South Sudan, where the business was repricing to more profitable business. The listed firm reported that investment income grew 168% to 1.6 billion shillings, helped by gains in equity portfolio and unwinding of forex losses from currency translation of foreign subsidiaries. Insurers have struggled to grow premiums in the COVID-19 pandemic era, including job losses and reduced corporate earnings. But the group indicated that the fee income and reinsurance commission increased 63% to 1.1 billion shillings. In Kenya, the gross written premium was up 16% to 6.8 billion shillings, while the CIC Life Assurance gross written premium grew by 9% to 2.9 billion shillings. The gross written premium by CIC Malawi and CIC Uganda increased by 95% and 50% respectively. However, CIC South Sudan subsidiary saw its gross written premium decline due to business attrition following repricing to more profitable business. Group CEO Patrick Nyaga says a balance sheet.
Now, Egypt has announced plans to increase the price of the country's subsidized bread for the first time in over 40 years. Egypt's bread subsidies were set at nearly $2.9 billion, just over half of the food subsidy bill for the fiscal year ending in June. These amounts to roughly 1.8% of overall state spending. Here are the details of these and other stories from across the African continent.
As bread is the staple food for Egyptians, any move regarding bread will trigger social unrest. Late President Anwar Sadat faced street riots when he tried to slash subsidies on bread in 1977 and had to back down. And for decades, different Egyptian leaders were reluctant to do the same. But Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi took everyone by surprise when he announced plans to end bread subsidy 10 days. Most experts believe it was the correct decision, as the price of a loaf of bread is sold at less than half a cent, though it costs more than 10 times to produce. Hence, it puts a strain on the state budget. Nearly 65 million people out of the country's total population of 100 million receive subsidized bread on monthly ration cards. Meanwhile, Checkit, a Nigerian health tech startup, has just closed its first institutional investment, a $500,000 pre-seed round to scale up across existing markets and improve its technology. The participants in this seed round include Launch Africa, Japan's Strategic Capital, Blockchain Founders Fund, and two syndicate groups of angel investors. The startup has received funding grant from the Orange Corners program to close the round in 2018. Checkit's vision has always been to save lives by becoming the leading product authentication and distribution tracking solution around the globe. Finally, Jumia Technologies says it plans to spend more on marketing and hire more technology professionals after reporting an increased loss in the second quarter. Jumia, which became the first Africa-focused tech startup on the New York Stock Exchange when it listed there in 2019, reported the fastest growth in order volumes in 5 straight quarters in the period to end June. Jumia, which operates in more than 10 African countries, spanning Morocco to South Africa, offers an online marketplace for vendors and food sellers as well as associated services. It said total orders jumped 13% to 7.6 million from the same quarter a year earlier, while annual active platform users edged up 3% to 7 million.
Approximately $600 million in what appears to be one of the largest cryptocurrency heists ever. Blockchain site Polynetwork says the hackers had exploited a vulnerability in its system and taken thousands of digital tokens such as Ether. Now, the company has urged the thieves to establish communication in a tweet, citing that it is the largest amount stolen in the company's history. Here are the details of these and other stories from across the globe.
Polynetwork says a preliminary investigation found hackers exploited a vulnerability between contract calls
It urged various exchanges to block deposits of the coins. The millions of dollars in tokens were transferred to separate cryptocurrency wallets. About $267 million worth of Ether currency were taken, $252 million worth of Binance coins, and roughly $85 million in USD tokens. Changpeng Zhao, chief executive of Binance, says his firm was aware of the hack, but added there was only so much he could do. Meanwhile, JetBlue has said the COVID pandemic will not stop the airline from launching its long-awaited New York to London services. JetBlue chief executive Robin Hayes says there's a strong demand for the route, and the company plans to expand its services in the sector, return to its former financial state in 2019. JetBlue's first transatlantic flight will leave New York's JFK Airport on Wednesday evening, headed to London's Heathrow. Flight to London's Gatwick will begin end of next month. Finally, the world's biggest maker of personal computers, China's Lenovo Group Limited, on Wednesday posted a better than expected jump in first quarter profit as COVID-19 curbs continue to spur work from home demand. Shares in the company rose by as much as 9.7% after release of its results and were on course for their biggest daily percentage gain since March. Profits for the quarter rose by 119% to $466 million. Versus $230 million in the same quarter last year, and above an average estimate of $345.23 million. Lenovo says a recovery in IT spending was fueling demand and supporting higher average selling prices of its products, and it expected the total personal computer market will continue to grow over the next 5 years.
In the sports arena, Thomas Tuchel, Chelsea today will take on